Welcome to the Westport Library. Today's program will begin momentarily. Supported by Verso Studios, created locally and shared with the world.
Good afternoon. My name is Matthew Mandell, and I'm the Executive Director of the Westport-Weston Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for coming to one of our seasonal debates that we've been doing for over 14 years. I want to thank the library for giving us this space and being a phenomenal collaborator with our organization. They go out of their way to make sure that people learn and people are entertained, and that you should all be proud that this is in your hometown. In full disclosure, I'm a member of the Westport Democratic Town Committee. I'm also a member of the Westport Representative Town Meeting. On this stage, you will have fellow Democrats and former and current members of the RTM. We all know each other. How is this possible? Because we're a small community with people who step forward and want to volunteer civically. I want to thank all 5 of you for stepping forward and wanting to take on a greater role. I think all of you should be very proud of yourselves, and I'm very proud of you as well. But wanting to do more isn't always enough. It's, can you do more? Do you have the ability to do more? Do you have the leadership ability to do more? And that's what this debate is about. The debate is to create a separation between the different candidates. It's easy to agree. It's more difficult sometimes to disagree and be able to articulate that. The whole goal of the debate is to have clash, to have them find out what the differences are, so that in the end, you will know who has the confidence, the ability, and the chops to actually be able to run this town. How will the debate work? There will be a 1 minute of opening for each 5. At the end, there'll be 1 minute of summary for each 5. During the debate, a question will be asked, and they'll have 2 minutes to answer it. One of the opposing members will have a rebuttal of 1 minute. This will allow for that type of clash to begin. Once that 2 minute and 1 minute part are done, there'll be an open discussion of 4 to 5 minutes. If the discussion gets burnt out, we'll move on to the next question. If the discussion is hearty, we'll continue it until we feel that it's enough before we move on. In the end, there'll be 8 questions asked of the 5 candidates. And if we feel that there's a little more time, we'll throw out some questions that won't be specific to a person, but will be just for the discussion. If you seem a little bit confused, you'll see how it will work. It actually does work very well, and it allows for the candidates to really find out about themselves and each other and express their opinions. Are we ready to begin?
Bring it on.
We did a drawing, and we started with Mr. Christie, who will open up with a 1 minute of opening.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you to Mr. Mandell and the Chamber of Commerce and the Westport Library for hosting us today. Thank you to my wife, Gina, for your support, and thanks to each of you for coming today. Community. It's what brought me and my family here to Westport. It's what drives our amazing town and what makes our town special. It's the people. We, Amy and I, are focused on working with you and with our elected officials in Hartford and DC, who have all strongly endorsed our campaign, to drive real quality of life improvements for Westporters. My professional career in finance, investment banking, and strategy has been all about bringing people together to solve problems and then executing the solutions. And my public record on the Board of Ed and our campaign demonstrates our approach to engaging with the community as a critical part of our decision-making process. And we look forward to discussing our results-driven approach and our vision with you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Christie. Drawing number 2 is Mr. O'Day.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks to Matt and the Chamber for sponsoring this debate. I am Don O'Day, and I'm running with Andrea Moore to be Westport's next first and second selectman. My wife, Tony, is a preschool teacher in town, and I have been in town for 31 years. Our 3 sons went through the school system. During those 31 years, I've had the privilege of serving our community in many ways. But first, professionally, I spent 35 years at Citi, where I was a CFO of the residential lending business. Here in town, I was twice elected to the Board of Education, and I served as chair for 4 years. I rebuilt Coleytown Middle School to ensure that our students and our children had a mold-free and a new building to work in. I'm currently on the RTM. I'm currently building the Long Lots School and Stepping Stone School. And my goal is simple. I want to strengthen our community and invest in its future, and that'll continue as first selectman.
Thank you. Mr. Rosenwaks.
Thank you, Matt, and the Chamber of Commerce and the amazing Westport Library for having us here today. My name is David Rosenwaks, and I'm the first independent party-endorsed candidate for first selectman in Westport's history. So I will be on top of the ballot if you haven't voted already, alongside the Dems and the Republicans. Being independent means that there's no party politics or party agendas influencing my decision-making. I answer to Westport and its citizens. The three main pillars of my campaign and my future administration will be transparency, communication, and accountability. I think if we foster an environment where we collaborate and work together to achieve common goals and remind each other that we're teammates first, then I think we'll see more action and less inaction, and we'll actually get things done. I currently am a member of the RTM in District 6. I also have been for the last few years an appointed member of the Westport Arts Advisory Committee. I love this town. My family and I love this town. We want to live here for many decades, and thank you all for being here today.
Thank you. One thing I neglected to say, this debate is being live streamed, and it'll also be recorded, so anybody who didn't get to see it can see it before they vote. We'll now go to second select people. Ms. Wistreich.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt, and thank you for everyone for being here today and all the viewers at home. It's a real pleasure to be amongst you all, and a pleasure to sit here with my colleagues that I have been volunteering with in town for many years. We are all volunteers here, and I'll put in a plug for doing so, because Westport's an amazing place, and we have incredible, engaged volunteers. I've been coming to Westport since 1969. As a child, and I have a long history here, a long love for Westport. I professionally have a background in construction and architecture and real estate development, and in town, the last 6 years, I've been an elected official, serving for 4 years on the Zoning Board of Appeals and 2 years on the Planning and Zoning Commission. So I've had a real front seat to building and land use in our town. And I'm very excited to be running for second select woman with my partner, Kevin. We have a real common sense approach to development, and we're excited to share that with you. I would particularly like to thank, before we start, Andrea Moore for her service as second select woman of this town. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And lastly, Ms. Moore.
Hi, everyone, and thanks to Matt and the Chamber for hosting this debate today. As many of you know, I am the second select woman, as Amy said. I was also born and raised in Westport, Connecticut. I went to Staples High School and graduated in 1984. I feel blessed and fortunate to be able to raise my 3 daughters in Westport. They've all graduated and gone off to college. Professionally, I worked on Wall Street for over 20 years. I was an investment banker in equity research and in equity sales. Since putting that piece of my life to bed, I've thrown myself into all things Westport. I've held many leadership roles around town, including on my daughter's preschool board, the Saugatuck PTA, and the Bedford Middle School PTA. I've also served on several charity boards, including Staples Tuition Grants, National Charity League, and the Westport-Weston Family Y. 10 years ago, I threw my hat into the ring for public service, and I served on the RTM for 2 years, including on the Education, Public Protection, and Library and Museum committees. Then I ran for the Board of Finance, where I served for 4 years. As I said before, I've been serving as second select woman for the last 4 years. I love the people in this town, I love this town, and it's been an honor to serve.
Thank you. All right, let's get to the questions. First question is going to be asked to Mr. O'Day. Mr. Christie, no, excuse me, Mr. Rosenwaks, you will be rebutting. It's a 2-minute answer to a question, 1 minute rebuttal, 4 to 5 minutes of discussion. Mr. O'Day.
Sir.
It has been said more than once that Westport is a tough place to start a business. There are a lot of rules and regulations, a lot of red tape. There's the building department, planning and zoning, the health department to get through. Is this process too cumbersome, or are the protections inherent in these rules correctly protective?
I don't think that the design of the process is too cumbersome. Very often, the process of actually going through the steps can be cumbersome. It's incumbent upon all of the agencies in town that are responsible for approving a new business and evaluating the proposal work together and understand what's going on, and that there's a timeline that everybody follows. And if the applicants follow the timelines that are put forth, and the people who are reviewing, the agencies who are reviewing, are working alongside of commitments to the length of time that it takes to approve, then I think it's okay. Look, regulations are there for a reason. You want to make sure that people are operating safely, that everything that is supposed to happen is happening, and that the playing field is level. If the playing field isn't level, then that unfair advantage is there, and that really isn't appropriate. So yeah, I think that the process of starting a business should be embraced. People are risking their capital to do business here in town, and we should welcome that. We should be a very welcoming community for people who are willing to start a business. And the regulations that I know that exist don't seem onerous. It's just the process by which we go through that we have to just make sure that timelines are followed and those commitments are held up.
All right, thank you. Mr. Rosenwaks, 1 minute.
Yeah, it's very important that we do indeed have regulations in place, but we also want to encourage business. It's important that we listen to merchants and their desires for parking, for example, on the right side of Post Road as we move forward. While we do have, maybe some people would think, onerous processes in place, it's important that we vet everyone fully. One of the questions we were all recently asked in a newspaper article was about cannabis companies for recreational use. We all agreed it's not time for that in Westport, so it's important that we go through all the different bodies. But at the same time, we want to make sure that our downtown is full and that merchants prosper, and that we do anything that we can, decision-making wise, to encourage them to stay. And that includes making sure their employees are served. They don't get tickets from the police officer, which a lot of our tickets we get are to employees. We want to make sure that our merchants are served and they want to continue to do business in Westport.
All right, thank you. So at this point, 4 or 5 minutes of anybody who wants to engage. It doesn't have to be a first or second select person. It can be anybody. It can be the same people who already spoke. It's up to you to speak. Mr. O'Day.
So there's a phrase in town when we talk about our downtown, and that is the right side of town versus the wrong side of town. If you're Verso and you're operating a restaurant, I think you may object to being characterized as being on the wrong side of Post Road. There's no right or wrong side of Post Road. It's the town's obligation to make sure that crossing Post Road can be done safely. But we have to look at our community as a whole and not just as who's on the right side and who's on the wrong side. It's just divisive, and it really shouldn't be part of our conversation when we talk about merchants in town.
Anybody else?
Yeah, by no means do I say that Verso's on the wrong side of Post Road, but the large proportion of our merchants and restaurants are on the other side of Post Road, so that's why I think parking solutions should be focused on that side of the road. And by no means is Verso inferior in any way for being on the other side of Post Road.
Yeah, we've spent a fair amount, Amy and I have spent a fair amount of time talking to the business owners about what it's like to operate a business, not just in downtown on Main Street, but throughout town. And it's been interesting, as we have tried to prompt questions about the regulations to open a business. The parking situation for most of the merchants is so troubling to them. They truly believe it's not a turnover issue. We just need more spots and for a longer duration, because as so many of Westporters know, downtown is a destination that takes longer than 2 hours to enjoy. So it's been really challenging to get feedback because they are so riled up about the parking situation downtown. And I appreciate the need for regulations. And I think there's always opportunities to improve and assess. So we certainly look forward to spending more time with the business owners on these types of questions and see if there's an opportunity to make opening more efficient, so it is clear to everyone that we are open for business and that we welcome local businesses in our town.
Anybody else?
I think it has become easier over the last 10 years to open a business downtown, and I think that's a good thing, but I think we still need to work on that hard about attracting businesses. But when I think about businesses in Westport, I don't think exclusively about downtown. As I drive around Westport, I'm mesmerized by the large businesses, the financial institutions that are here. And, you know, I think having an economic development director or a complete focus on business is something that we really should think about going forward in the future. Westport is growing, our businesses are growing. We're attracting great businesses. That's great for our taxes, that's great for us.
Yeah, I'll just agree with what Amy said about, you know, often the conversation is just around downtown, but this town is much bigger than downtown. Of course, it's important, but we have tons of new businesses opening in Westport. For those of you who have been to the Startup Westport events, I mean, there is so much energy in this town in so many different directions. So it is a broader conversation that we should be having about the strength of just the overall business environment in Westport.
Mr. O'Day, you wanted to speak again?
Just one real quick comment. I think our Planning and Zoning Commission has showed a great deal of wisdom post-COVID and through today. Being able to go with the street closures by Spotted Horse and Pink Sumo and Emmy Squared, those are all great ideas. There's been some opposition to that, but I think doing the right thing for the town is what our planning and zoning commissioners have done and will continue to do.
All right. I'm seeing someone says, hold the mic closer. Is that for any one particular person? For Mr. O'Day? Okay. I think Mr. Rosenwaks, you might back off a little bit.
Okay, I like my mic. I like my mic.
Okay. Well, it's your question, so we can test out the theory. The first selectmen and departments create a 10-year capital forecast. This outlines all future expenditures, infrastructure for the town. The sum is over $400 million. At times, the Board of Finance and the RTM question these appropriations, and the answer comes back, but it's in the capital forecast. Is this forecast written in stone? Is it a wish list? And how will you approach this critical process as first selectman? 2 minutes.
So we are at a critical juncture in terms of the capital forecast. We have been in an environment of declining debt service for the last number of years, while our operating costs have been increasing. A lot of our costs are associated with salaries and pensions and health insurance, and those aren't going down anytime soon. But we are at an inflection point. Debt is about to go up. We just approved the largest appropriation in Westport's history for the new Long Lot School, and we're going to incur a lot more debt. We have another $400 million or so that we want to add as well. So we're going to have to prioritize. We're going to have to be very judicious, and we can't do it all at once. Even if we add $200 million more debt to the $110 million we have now, that's probably just capital costs alone going to add 10 to 12.5% increase in our taxes. So I am very concerned, and I think that's one of the things that's motivating me to get involved, is that the whole dynamic of our low mill rate, which is one of the things that attracts people to this town, could change substantially. I think we need to really decide, and this goes back to my approach as first selectman, we need to be very collaborative. We need to make sure we prioritize what the town wants. Schools are clearly a priority in this town. 63% of our town budget goes to the schools. and in some respects, it's our brand. So after Long Lots, a Coley Town elementary school is probably high on the list. So we have to make sure to take a look at that first. But at the same time, we've kept the mill rate lower the last 10 to 15 years, and we have to keep up with the little things too, infrastructure, roads, bridges. So we want to be very careful moving forward. We don't take everything on at once, and we're going to have to be very careful, and I want the whole town to come together and figure out what's the most important thing to all of us.
All right, thank you. I should have given you warning, but Mr. Christie, you are the rebuttal person for this question.
Yeah, to answer your first couple of questions, it is not set in stone, the 10-year capital forecast, and it does feel like a $473 million laundry list or wish list of projects. And we, Amy and I, are incredibly focused on making sure that we invest your taxpayer dollars better. We have to prioritize and look at what we actually need first, which is a lot of the work that the Board of Ed has done over the course of the past 4 years, really prioritizing, looking from a historical perspective, what has happened with Coley Middle in the underinvestment in maintenance, looking at what's happened at Long Lots in the underinvestment of maintenance. It has cost us a $30 million renovation and a $100 million new school. We have to take care of our infrastructure first, and then we can walk and chew gum at the same time and continue to invest in some of our wants. But we have to do it in the open, and we have to do it together in collaboration with the community and the town funding bodies.
All right, so we're talking about almost $500 million over the next 10 years. What do you guys have to say about how you're going to choose and put things forward? Mr. O'Day?
So what we've been fortunate to have as a community is an engaged press, journalism. Dan Woog is running a series of asking the first Selectmen candidates how they feel on a number of different issues. The one that just came up was the capital plan. So I responded with some specificity about what we would do. I talked about Coley L. I know that Coley L has long since needed renovation and possibly a full replacement. It's even going through challenges now with a leaky roof that's being addressed, but it's a symptom of a building, of a school that needs a good deal of attention, and it's going to get that attention. We need to work on Longshore. There is a maintenance shed that has to be addressed. There's a clubhouse that's in great disrepair. That we're missing revenue opportunities. We have to address downtown parking. Those are really 3 items that are part of the overall almost $500 million 10-year capital plan. And by the way, that doesn't include interest. It's a big number. So what do? You manage by looking at things, evaluating things on a high, medium, low. And then you just
keep going. I'm just looking who's next.
Okay, and then you also assess everything with an approach that in talking with Tom Scarice and in really the way I managed the Coley Town Middle School rehabilitation is you look at a building and you just say, is that building dry? No water incursion. That's a good thing.
Okay.
Is it warm in the winter? Cool in the summer? And if it is, then it's healthy and you can look at other things. But it's part of the high, medium, low assessment, and that's what should be done.
Someone else? Mr. Rosenwaks?
Yeah, I don't want to look back, because what's done is done, but in the last 10 to 15 years, 10 years ago or so, we had 5,000-year historical lows in interest rates. Money was essentially free. People knew to refinance their homes, refinance their cars. We could have maybe done Long Lots back then, and we could have saved tens and tens of millions of dollars. I think we need to be more proactive and look at everything holistically, have a real strategy, one that goes out 10 years, but also something that we look year by year incrementally what we can achieve, and then we hold ourselves accountable through scorecards. It's so important that we have proactive environmental studies at all the schools. We proactively look at everything as a whole and stop reacting crisis to crisis. I argue we wouldn't be in the situation where we have $400+ million left to do if we are more proactive going forward. I think that's at the crux of what I'm trying to achieve in town. If we are more strategic and holistic in how we approach things in general, I think and we don't manage crisis to crisis, we'll be in a better position.
All right, let's try to stay in the discussion part to about a minute and change, so that gives us all the opportunity. If it's going well, you'll get another shot. So anybody else?
I'll just comment. I won't comment on the list because I think that the first selectman candidates have done that. But I will comment on the approach. And, you know, when I think about our capital forecast and all that money, $500 million plan out there, my first priority is keeping the mill rate down. Then we go from there. So I think about our town assets, and I just want to throw a couple of ideas there out that might be a little bit alternative. In thinking about our town assets, our Board of Ed controls our schools. We've had issues over the years with maintenance and keeping up our schools. So something that might be a little different to look at in town as we do charter revisions, as we do our town planning, as we redo our POCD that needs to be done this year, is to think about in our planning how we handle maintaining our assets, how we handle maintaining properties in this town. And maybe there's a separation, and maybe it's not under the Board of Ed anymore, and maybe there's a facilities department in town that's handling some of those assets. So I think that as we look at, you know, our capital forecast and we bat around our top 3 priority list, which I think the first selectman candidates have made clear, I think we should also consider different approaches to doing the same things we've done again and again, maybe in a little bit of a different way going forward.
Yeah, I'll just
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I'll say it quick. Yeah, that discussion about having a facilities manager has been going on for quite a long time. It was something we talked about on the Board of Finance. It was something a lot of people were interested in doing. It's a difficult balance because the schools are in charge of the maintenance on the buildings, and yet the town owns the buildings. So it's hard to, you know, it's a difficult discussion to have to try to figure out, but it has been going on for a long time. If somebody could figure out how to make that happen, it might be a good thing. I think the Board of Ed has done a lot of good work with hiring Colliers, looking at the, was that what you were going to say? Okay. The Board of Ed hired Colliers to look at all the buildings and come up with a list of all the projects and prioritize it. And so that's been very useful in the buildings over the last few years.
And I'm not insinuating that the Board of Ed has not done a good job, by the way. I'm just talking about a different approach.
Yeah, yeah. I think the different approach is, as Andrea was saying, you know, we have over 1 million square feet of school buildings in our town, and bringing in an external expert to help manage and prioritize. We totally revamped how we approach capital in our capital improvement plan. And it's entirely focused on what we need to avoid the types of issues that we've seen at Coley Middle and Long Lots. And I think moving forward with a laser focus on the mill rate in conjunction with the Board of Finance determining how much aggregate amount of debt above the 100 million or so that we have currently is comfortable for our town. And then moving forward in a collaborative relationship, not only with us and the superintendent, so we can work together to prioritize, but doing it in the open with the community as well.
All right, thank you. Good enough, guys? All right. Mr. Christie, this is your question, and Mr. O'Day, it's your rebuttal. The DOT has a lot of irons in the fire in Westport. Some seem to start and never seem to get finished. Others never seem to get started. The Post Road is still a mess. The left turn at Campo and Bridge was approved 2 years ago and still doesn't exist. They cut down a whole bunch of trees on their property, and they want to see whatever they want to do with the Corberry Bridge. As first selectman, how are you going to create a better communications and results from a state agency that clearly dances to its own tune?
I think this is an opportunity for a new beginning with Westport and the state. We, as first and second selectwomen, we need to advocate and proactively present what we need for Westport. And that is something that we have seen has not happened, either on a proactive or reactive basis. The Westport Journal documented, as it relates to the state-owned maintenance facility off of the Sherwood Island connector, that yes, it is state-owned land, And the state reached out to the first select person's office for feedback on the plan. The state wanted to hear from Westport and from Westporters what Westport's feelings were about their plan. The Westport Journal documented that the Department of Transportation didn't get a response. So Amy and I take an entirely different approach. One, we have the relationships in Hartford to help facilitate better outcomes for Westport. And even if the state reached out to us, if we hadn't already reached out to them first, we would certainly return their phone call or email. So I think as it relates to the bridge or traffic on our state roads, infrastructure grants, we have to advocate for what Westport needs.
All right, Mr. O'Day, 1 minute.
Advocating is part of having a plan, assessing what's out there, and communicating. I've spent my career getting things done, and I certainly have demonstrated that in town. My ability to work across party lines is extremely strong because I frankly don't care what the party is of the person that I'm speaking to. And that's known immediately to that individual. Party isn't important, results are. So any discussion that someone may have a particular advantage over another candidate because of party and the party control of Hartford is just wrong, right? It's how you get things done. It's how you lay out what your priorities are, and being relentless, never ending, to make your point and to get clear what has to happen for all of Westport. And it's telling people in Westport what you're doing and why what you're doing is important and how close you are to getting a decision. Because if you make it clear who and who's on the other side of the conversation and your progress, you're going to get the support that you need. So it's just managing and it's getting things done. I have a long, long history of doing just that.
Thank you, Mr. O'Day. Well, there's a lot on the table in this question, so I'm sure it'll be good discussion. Who's up first? Mr. Rosenwaks.
May I? Yeah, direct communication and constant dialogue with DOT and our Hartford officials is crucial, and that doesn't always happen. What happened on the Sherwood Connector with the trees getting cut down was a miss. In terms of traffic, a lot of our roads are state roads. It's crucial. It's crucial that we get DOT to help us. Those conversations don't always happen between our local administration and our state officials. I know our state officials, our state reps, and our state senator quite well. I've held coffees at my home for them, and I work with them. And I know they're great people, and I know if we actually engage with them, they will help us day one. That's one of the first things I will be doing day one in my administration, is making contact and making sure that we have that dialogue and it's continuous. You know, another example is the Cribari Bridge. You know, Jim Marpy listened to the residents back in 2017, and he took the $40 million of construction funds off the tip. And in 2024, our current administration put it back on. Unless DOT can actually promise they won't let 18-wheelers roll through Cribari Bridge, well, we need to do the same, and that's something I promise that I will do. These are the kind of things that are really important to the town, and constant dialogue with our state officials and DOT are crucial to make sure that we don't end up somewhere we don't want to end up.
Who's
I'll
next?
just add that something that our team has been working on, and I've been working on it particularly, is the relationship with the DOT. And the plan is on day one to have a kickoff meeting with all the stakeholders. And fortunately for Kevin and I, we have a direct dial to Hartford. So that makes it very helpful. So I just want to let you know that it's on a top priority list of ours to have a kickoff meeting on day one. And I encourage whatever team wins that would be the plan, and to really sit down with the state and talk about our sidewalks, the traffic on our state roads, and a solution to the Cribari Bridge, because these things can't be delayed.
Agreed. And having the experience that both Amy and I have in managing large and complex transactions, is very helpful as it relates to thinking about all of the projects, challenges, and opportunities that we have in our town. My professional career, I managed transactions that amounted to 80 times that of our $500 million laundry list of capital projects. So having the number of opportunities that we have in Westport to make our town even better, and many of them relate to the state. Many of them relate to proactively engaging with the state to secure incremental state funding or federal funding as well. That is a critical path forward to helping ensure, as both Amy and I mentioned, putting our tax dollars to use better and keeping the mill rate attractive.
Don?
The ability to work with government agencies is central to this conversation. So in my professional life, one of the last things I did when I was with City is City appointed me, just me, to be their liaison with the Department of Justice in order to get the consent order against City lifted. I was able to work with the Department of Justice to get that done. So I'm not talking about what we could do, I'm talking about what I've actually done. I've worked with the federal government to resolve a major issue for my employer. And that took a lot of negotiating, it took a lot of communication, and it took a lot of trust on both sides. They trusted me, I trusted them, and I showed them what had to happen. They talked to me about ways to get the results done as well. So if you want to get improvement,
please finish up.
Sure, if you want to get things working better, I would suggest that you do, when you hire your first select person, you hire someone who's actually done it before, and I think that I have done just that.
Okay, I'm going to go 30 more seconds. Go ahead.
Okay. Don, thank you so much for reminding me of my own resume, because we're getting old and I'm forgetting things. But I worked very successfully with the School Construction Authority when I was a professional living in Manhattan. And I worked on many government contracts when I was working for the architectural firm Cohn Pedersen Fox. It was also at a time with a lot of federal money when I was working there in the 90s, and not a lot of private development, and the firm that I worked for was mostly a private development firm. Oh, sorry. So anyway, I had to pivot and learn how to work with the General Services Administration on both courthouse design and the School Construction Authority and I forgot that part of my resume, so thank you.
You want to,
Just because I haven't said anything.
just finish up. Andrea hasn't spoken yet, so she wants to.
Okay, great.
Ms.
Just
Moore.
30 seconds. First of all, as the only person up here who is serving on the Board of Selectmen now, I'll just say that quite a bit we do for a well-managed town. We do get quite a bit of funding or grants, and our department heads work with the state quite often on sidewalk projects and other things. So that's not something that hasn't been happening, and I would imagine it would keep happening going forward. Second, this theme about we can only get something done with the state because we're a part of the same party. It keeps coming up over and over again. Our state reps and senators should be working for all of us, not just with people who are in the same political party.
All right, thank you.
Can I get 15 seconds?
15 seconds.
You reminded me too, as someone who worked in banking, I worked extensively with the Federal Reserve and the FDIC because we were creating new products for community banks around the country. So we worked extensively with government agencies or pseudo-government agencies, and I have a lot of experience doing that as well.
All right, thank you.
Can I add 10 seconds?
Yeah, go ahead. Hey, as we said, if discussion is good, we'll continue it.
I would just reiterate that the current administration did literally not respond to the Department of Transportation when the Department of Transportation reached out for Westporters' views.
We're good? All right. So that's the end of the first round for the first selectman questions. Now we're going to go to questions for the second selectman. This first question will go to Ms. Moore, and obviously Ms. Wistreich will be the rebuttal for 1 minute. So 2 minutes for this answer. We're going to get a little more specific into things.
Oh boy.
As part of the current administration, A major capital project was to create a unified first responder campus on the Sherwood Island Connector. Should this move forward in the next administration, and what would be the advantages of doing so?
Yes, this has been something that has been going on for the last couple of years. It's a complicated, for those who don't know, the administration has been working on combining and improving our facility for fire, police, and EMS. There have been discussions about locations, but one of the locations that they've been discussing is on the Sherwood Island Connector. There are some challenges around the piece of property that they're potentially looking at, which the administration is looking at. But it's an interesting idea. Currently, we have a police station downtown, right in the middle of our downtown, that is old, and and could use some improvements. We also have several fire stations all over town, which there could be potentially an opportunity to consolidate a couple of those if we did have a larger facility on the connector. So those are the reasons this project has been looked at. It's complicated, it's expensive, given the fact we're talking about this large capital plan, but it is something I think the administration should be looking at. Both the police chief and the fire chief, as well as the first selectwoman, have visited other locations. They've been doing a lot of work on trying to figure out if this project makes sense. It could, but it is not without issues. And so, given the cost of it, given all the other things we have, but it is something interesting, and I think we should continue to look at it as a project.
1 minute, Ms. Wistreich.
I think Andrea is correct. It is an interesting idea. And as people who know me and are familiar with my work and my voting record, I analyze things very clearly and carefully. And that's what I will do with this project when and if we get to town hall, and look at this very carefully. Will a combined police, fire, EMS facility keep us $92 million safer? That's the question. And if that question is a yes, I'm a yes. But I think it has some merit. I think our facilities are lacking currently for our first responders, and it may be something that we need to look at. But as we've been discussing, there are many things that we may need to look at, and it's a question of prioritizing. But generally, I think that anything we can do to support our first responders and make our town safer is a good thing. So we'll see where this goes.
All right, thank you. Anybody else want to weigh in on this one? Mr. O'Day.
So the combination of police, fire, and EMS doesn't mean that every fire station in town would go away. There'd be some consolidations, but there would still be satellite fire stations in town to ensure maximum amount of safety and enhanced response time. But like everybody has said, it is absolutely worthwhile looking at it. When something is over $90 million and you add on bonding and you get well over $100 million, it takes a really, really, really hard look to make sure that that is something we'd want to do. There's all sorts of efficiencies that it would offer. I've talked to Fire Chief Marson about this. I know he's a strong advocate for it. It'll definitely be on the list of things to be looked at and looked at hard. But we all have to remember that the first selectman's job is a partnership job with planning and zoning and with the Board of Finance. The first selectman would be an advocate for it, but he wouldn't necessarily be the deciding factor. Board of Finance has to weigh in, planning and zoning has to weigh in. So it's a long process, but it is a concept, this combined facility. It's a concept worth looking at.
Mr. Rosenwaks.
Yeah, as a proud member of the RTM's Public Protection Committee and a graduate of the Citizens Police Academy, I'm a huge fan of our police force and our fire department and our EMS. I feel fortunate to have had many interactions with with everyone in the fire department, the leaders in both. We have such talented people running both of our big divisions in town. This is an example where I do believe we have to do some real analysis, the ROI, the metrics. Is this going to make us safer, as Amy mentioned before? But I think this is a good example of how we can approach things differently. I think going forward for something like this, which security is one of my most important issues. We want to keep our town safe in every respect. We want to be able to enforce traffic. We want to be able to keep our streets safe for everyone. Maybe we can bring together early in this process, planning and zoning, Board of Finance, RTM, everybody, and talk about this as a whole. And I think that could be an interesting approach. There's a lot of our bigger capital projects where we all get into a room early on in the process, and then we take it from there, as opposed to going step by step. I think security is a very important issue, and I want to make sure that the people who serve us are served well themselves. But I think this is a great example of how we can maybe approach something like this in a different way.
Okay, thanks. So if you notice that we've changed the clock a little bit, there are now two clocks during discussion. We're going to try to keep you guys to a minute so that we have more interaction during it than one person dominating. So we're at about a minute. You know, if I can put in a couple of things, if we move to a new facility that does free up space in 2 different areas. And what do you think that space, the firehouse that's on Post Road, could be used for something? The police station downtown could be used for something? We got a minute and some odd. You know, have at it. Who wants to talk about that?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is an opportunity, and that's what I said in my comments earlier. You know, the parking conversation downtown, I mean, I'm not sure that would be the most efficient use of the land where the police station is, but maybe it would be, depending on some of the other changes that we're, you know, talking about making downtown. We have the fire station property on the Post, the large headquarters on the Post Road. We could sell that property. We could sell this property. I mean, there are a wide variety of things we could look at, but that would be a, you know, combination of, and there's also the Greens Farms fire station, which this one might replace because it would be so close. So I think that's something that, again, the first select person doesn't make all these decisions on their own. It's collaborative. It's working with the Board of Finance. It's working with, you know, other groups. So I think it frees up some opportunities, again, especially with the big price tag.
Anybody else on that? Mr. You had your hand up first. Mr. O'Day.
So the police...
Keep it at 30 seconds.
Okay, the police station, fire station that's freed up, what is going to drive what happens to that is the market. It's who's willing to pay more and what's the best use of those properties. I'm not sure a parking lot or a parking garage where the police station is the best use. I think we could probably get a lot more if it was sold or if there was other commercial development. But the key thing to remember is when these decisions are made, it's the market that will drive the outcome.
I'll just quickly say, I mean, I haven't really thought about reusing those buildings yet because I haven't really thought about this safety facility becoming a reality. But these are properties that are town-owned, and I look at our police station, it's kind of an iconic building. I'm very pro reusing the guts of buildings, and I think there could be plenty of uses, and as Andrea said, opportunities for those spaces.
Thank you. Mr. Christie.
Yeah, I agree. I think taking a step back, obviously police and fire and our collective public safety are incredibly important. You know, our budget should definitely reflect our values, and public safety is about almost a third of the quote-unquote town side budget, so incredibly important. And I do certainly support Chief Marsan and Chief Farrell and their work. You know, I think going back to the buildings, themselves, and I agree with the concept of the return on the $92.5 million investment. That's prime real estate, getting back to the existing buildings on the Post Road or police off of Imperial. And it gets back to having a plan and what we want for town-owned land, and perhaps something that could be thought about in the concept of the POCD, and the Plan of Conservation and Development that's coming up next year.
All right, thank you.
Just real quickly.
Mr. Rosenwaks, go ahead.
Yes, I'm not sure how close we are to a new fire police station. But yes, both those properties have tremendous value if we were to move forward. The police station, for example, is at a very elevated position, non-flood zone. It's going to be very attractive, and both properties obviously have value. There has been discussion about a double-deck parking lot there potentially down the road. I'm not sure if that's the best use, as Andrea said earlier, but it is a very attractive piece of real estate, and we should always keep in mind that there's value there. In terms of the fire station, I've heard people float affordable housing there. You know, we do need to be proactive, looking at different opportunities throughout the town. Right now, as I said, we've been very reactive to things, given the situation with the Hamlet, not to go there, and with the looming Hiawatha, a lot of our affordable housing will be concentrated in one area. If we can do a better job of assessing all of our properties, as few as they are, and trying to see if we could balance any affordable housing opportunities throughout the town, I think the town would be better served.
Thank you. All right. Well, we're officially halfway through, so I think it's moving pretty smoothly. So this question is to Ms. Wistreich. It is the gorilla in the room lately, and you had a front row seat.
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
You're first up, and Ms. Moore is going to rebut.
Thank you.
2 minutes answer. I'm calling it the gorilla in the room. You have, as a P&Z member, you had a front row seat to the Hamlet application and where it went. And recently you signed on to a letter looking for a conference of people to get together to talk about the future. Please tell us about what your vision would be and how that would work, and how that can get done if you were elected as the team is running the town.
Thank you for that question, Matt, because as most people know, I've been working very hard on the Hamlet for a long time, and it's been a hard road in Westport, and a lot of comments, a lot of feedback, but I've really just tried to focus on the project in front of me. Now, the Hamlet has been denied, but just to go back, I don't want to go back to our hearings, but I will for just a second. I was a very big advocate during 11 public hearings, many hours, many late nights, of the P&Z having direct contact with the developer. In the Hamlet meetings, for those who watched, that was not allowed to happen. Their attorney wanted to keep it really tight, and we really couldn't have any kind of dialogue with the developers. I was a no vote leading the P&Z to deny the Hamlet. After it was denied, because I didn't think it was ready for prime time, not because I'm not for a terrific project down there. When the Hamlet was denied and the lawsuit was brought against the P&Z, that created a common practice moment for a negotiation around the table. I was a leader in wanting to get to the executive session and have a negotiation around the table, because I feel like that's how you get things done. We were blocked as a commission and couldn't get there. So now that I'm leaving the commission and I am P&Z emeritus, I guess, I am still advocating. And this is my #1 priority to work on in this town. I am advocating for the developers and for the town to all get together, to bring in all the key stakeholders and meet with them. Not because I think they're the right developer, but because they're the ones that have the options on the property. So we have to consider them in the process. I would like to get around the table, and that's why I wrote that letter with Larry Weissman and Roger and Brian Stern, I see you in the audience, and Ken. And we feel collectively that it's very important that this is a generational project.
Finish up, please.
Okay, it's a generational project. It will transform our town forever. And if we are not sitting at the table controlling it, then we are putting Westport for sale. And Westport's not for sale. Westport's for us to develop together. And that's why whoever becomes first selectman should put together a group, I feel like, of stakeholders that should be working
Amy,
solely on this project.
you'll get more time during discussion.
Okay.
Let's move on. Rebuttal.
I agree with Amy. I think that this project is so emotional for so many people on both sides, and I've spoken to people who are pro and people who are con, and very much varying different views. But if we don't talk to each other about things going on in town, and if we don't give the grown-ups in the room the opportunity to sit in a room and talk about things, to move things forward on various different projects. I'm not talking about secret meetings. I'm not talking about things in back rooms, but talking about formal executive sessions where people can talk to each other to move something forward that's good for all of Westport. If we don't allow people to do that in this town, we are going to continue to get nothing done, and that's not right. So I agree with Amy. We need to, whatever happens with this project and other projects, we really need to work together as a community to make it happen.
All right, thank you.
And whatever happens with this race, it's very important, November 5th, that we get together on this project, or our town will be very different.
All right, so we all seem to agree we should be talking. The question is, what's the vision that we would have for Saugatuck? Obviously, the Hamlet's vision was not going to fly any longer. It's now going to be something else. So how do we deal with 830G? How do we deal with state money? How do we deal with something else? Anybody want to
Can I take
that? You're more than welcome.
So I think on the Hamlet, which is no longer, on the Saugatuck solution, I'll call it, or the Saugatuck redevelopment, it's not black and white. It doesn't have to be a private development. It doesn't have to be 830Gs coming down on us. I think it can be more collaborative. And I think there's opportunity for public-private partnerships, and I think there's opportunity to rethink the project a little bit. The land is expensive, that creates a problem, but that's why we have to look to state money, federal money, bringing the developers to the table, and a real collaborative approach, and a vision for Westport that encompasses mixed-use dynamic development, proper waterfront development, and a housing component in addition.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Rosenwaks. Go ahead, Mr.
Sure,
Rosenwaks.
thank you. I think at the heart of the matter is I've been doing coffees or wine and cheeses almost every other day for the last 2 months, and still people don't understand the alternatives or the ramifications of what happened with the Hamlet, that 830G, those towers are the possibility. I think information flow is the real issue here. I think a lot of us, I've met with the developers, I've met with the developers' lawyers separately, I've met with people who are anti-Hamlet, and the facts are always disparate. That's a real problem. Information flow is what's causing this issue, I really believe. If we can improve our technologies for information flow, I think we can avoid situations like this in the future. I think the thing we have to do from here is really figure out collaboratively as a town, what is it that we actually want down there? And it is something in between. It is something that is not 3 towers of 830G housing. It's something that accomplishes what the Hamlet was set out to accomplish originally, and we have to get back to the table. But I think before we go back to the table and influence that discussion, we have to work as a town together, all the town bodies, all the citizens, and really determine what is it exactly that we want, and then we'll get back to the table. A public-private partnership is also something that makes a lot of sense. Darienne's had a lot of success doing similar, and I think we should look to them as a model. But the important thing is we as a town need to figure out what it is we want, and then we will influence the discussion with the developers and take it from there.
All right, thank you. Mr. O'Day.
So I do see it, and I've said this many times, I see the Saugatuck area as somewhat binary. Nothing is either one way or another, but this feels largely, its option A is private development on a scale that is definitely different than the Hamlet, or an 830G. And central to getting the private development, which I prefer, is talking. And when the Planning and Zoning Commission voted to unanimously not talk to Roan and the developers, I thought that was a mistake. And I'm talking about not talking in executive session. That was a recent decision. Amy was part of that. That denial of going into executive session. You have to talk, and you have to try to figure out what all the parties want. It is private. It's not necessarily everything that Westport wants. It's private land, but it is highly more desirable to have private development than an unchecked 830G of 400 to 500 units, over 100 affordable units. That is not something I think is in the best interest of Westport, and it's something that I believe puts me in a position to say, look, I'm definitely in favor of private development with planning and zoning control.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Christie.
Sure. Just talking about vision, I guess, and what it may or may not become. I've spoken to many Westporters. I haven't heard one say that nothing should happen down there. And everyone is concerned about the traffic, for one. And two, there are many Westporters that are concerned about this concept of making Saugatuck, making Westport like a destination from a, thinking specifically about a hotel type option. So it does get back to the point of figuring out what we want as Westporters when we engage in these conversations with the developer, to help ensure that we get what we want and what truly works for Westport and Westporters.
Thank you. We good with this one? All right. So now we're going back to the first selectman, and I'm going to stay in that same order. And Mr. O'Day, you get the question. And let me just double check on the second round. Mr. Christie, you're going to be the rebuttal.
Okay.
I believe that was, you rebutted, we're in the right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's all going to work.
Yeah, just got to make sure. Okay. So coming off of this discussion here from the saga, from the Hamlet and 830G, local control is a phrase we hear a lot. HB 5002, the vetoed bill, seemed to catch everybody's attention and put the issues squarely on our radar screens. Fair share, live, work, ride, no parking standard, as of right commercial conversion to residential, they were all in there. Are these concepts actual threats to our community, or are they ideas to embrace, and how will you deal with it as first selectman?
Well, they're threats to the community, and to the extent that Connecticut should be seen as one size fits all, and that's just wrong. So yeah, that's a threat, and I want to thank Jonathan Steinberg for voting against that. I think it was the right vote, and Westport is better for it. I think it is the adding on to 830G is the wrong approach. There should be opportunities to get waivers on 830G, whether that's a moratorium, which we are on the path towards getting, or other options that the state could take. But when Hartford looks at regulations truly as one size fits all, they're not doing a service to our town. So again, the veto of this bill by Governor Lamont, I think was welcome. But overall, the threat is done to sort of have a carrot and a stick to force towns to be more compliant with 830G. There are things that we can do to get there. There are investments that the town can make, and all that is something that would be a very high priority in an O'Day Moore administration. But to just underscore my answer to your question, Matt, threats of increased regulation, no parking standard, it doesn't work for me, and it's being fought. It should continue to be fought. And actually, you were a strong advocate for fighting it, so thank you for that.
All right, thank you. Mr. Christie, 1 minute rebuttal.
Yeah, 5002 is one of, and I also appreciate Jonathan's vote on 5002. It's one of the challenges of trying to legislate for 169 very different municipalities in the state of Connecticut, from urban to rural and suburban communities like ours. And for us as Westport, and certainly Amy and I, we want more control. And we have so many of the building blocks in place in our town that we should get credit for. You know, in addition to getting to 4% of our housing stock is deemed affordable, but we have the Affordable Housing Committee, we have the Affordable Housing Fund, we have a tremendous amount of additional expertise in the Westport Housing Authority that literally can secure funding and actually construct affordable housing. But we have so much expertise in our town. I would love to work with Jonathan and others to find other opportunities for us to get credit for the work that we are doing as a community that is very largely already built out.
All right. Well, now we got 4 or 5 minutes to talk about this subject in the state. So, Mr. Rosenwaks.
Yeah, I have some news for everybody. Not everyone in Westport is wealthy or rich. We need some socioeconomic diversity in our town, and 5002 presented a situation where we didn't have control. There were no parking regulations, for example, and that's not ideal. So Jonathan Steinberg, thank you as well for voting against and being strong. I do think that we need to accommodate professionals in this town. Seniors need to be able to afford to live here. Certain professionals, it'd be great if some of our police and fire could work here, teachers, aides. It would be ideal. So trying to keep control is very important. Matt's been a leader with the Affordable Fund, and we are building money to find locations and purchase properties. But, you know, 5002 took a lot of control away from us, so we need to try to be more proactive in finding areas around town that will accommodate our needs.
All right, who's next? Ms. Wistreich.
5002, whatever form it takes in its next iteration, there will be stronger housing laws coming down on us, and that's just a reality. Governor Lamont didn't sign it this time, but as we all know, the pressures are there. And so we will be seeing tighter housing solutions coming down from our state, which, you know, is not something any of us want. We want local control. But the way to get local control, even with these laws coming upon us from the state, is to be really proactive in our planning and to think about ways that we can start building affordable housing. And we've done this successfully. I mean, we've built a lot of affordable housing, and we will continue to. And so some regulation, some form of 5002 is going to come, and it's how we plan for it and how we react to it. So maybe that becomes part of our POCD, and there's a big affordable housing plan that's coming forward in that. Maybe people split off and we don't have a planning and zoning commission anymore. Maybe we have a planning commission and a zoning commission, which is quite common in a lot of our towns. I'm not saying that we will, that's just an idea that I'm throwing out, but for a great planning component to be as proactive as we can be.
Great, thank you.
I'll just
Ms. Moore.
mention, it's been mentioned a couple times, but I'll re-mention it. The Affordable Housing Fund that the RTM voted in a year ago?
A little more, a year and a half,
okay.
and $1.5 million strong.
They've been, yeah, it's about $1.5 million has been collected through an additional tax on new construction. I think that's a nice start. Matt, thank you for your work on that. Since everybody thanked Jonathan, I'll thank you for your work there.
I thank Matt as well.
And there's, we have a great committee of which I helped appoint the 5 people to that committee. They've been working really hard together, collecting information from other towns, talking to developers. They've been doing, and so thank you to those who are in the room right now. They're doing really good work. $1.5 million isn't going to get us very far in Westport, so we're going to have to look at private and public-private partnerships potentially, and look at other potentially state. But there are, I think we do have some opportunities to do some things in Westport, but we're going to need more money than $1.5 million.
Thanks, right on 1 minute, nice job. Mr. O'Day.
So I think we should probably stop beating ourselves up about not doing enough on the affordable housing front. I think we've done a tremendous amount. It's probably why we're on track for a moratorium. But regarding the Affordable Housing Fund, which has been talked a lot about, but I'll talk about it some more, it shows what Westport's vision of having a tax to fund the Affordable Housing Fund was the right way to go. Just another example of things that the town has done that has helped us to increase our affordable housing inventory. The 50% or 50 basis point tax on construction helped fund the $1.5 million that we currently have. The example of towns that have something similar but don't do it via tax is Greenwich. Theirs is strictly donation, and that balance is only $30,000. So Westport has done a lot. Westport will continue to do a lot. In an O'Day Moore administration, it will definitely continue to do a lot because affordable housing is necessary, and our path that has been strong will continue.
Thank you. Anybody else? We're good with that one. Okay. Mr. Rosenwaks, this is for you. And Mr. Christie, you are the rebut. So 2 minutes for the answer, 1 minute for the rebuttal. Let's talk about downtown. David, you recently put out a video discussing downtown. You talked about the hours of parking and the possibilities of a garage. How does this square with the Downtown Plan Implementation Committee's work to address the future of downtown? And at First Selectman, how would you approach this issue?
Yeah, so downtown parking, I believe we've been talking about for 40 years. Some people argue we don't need extra parking. I have been to many lunch meetings recently where I can't find parking. And as I said earlier, a lot of merchants want parking on the side of Post Road that has most of the restaurants and shops. The DPIC, the Downtown Parking Implementation Committee, has done tremendous work, and they're trying to find 40 spots right now throughout the town. There is a discussion, where should those spots be? Should they be on the periphery of town, or should they be closer to where people work? I know most merchants would like parking spots to be where the stores are, where the restaurants are. And I also mentioned earlier, I know the police officer who gives out tickets, and with our current plan of 2-hour parking, a lot of the tickets he gives are to employees of the restaurants and shops. That to me is a real problem. I think any project like Parker Harding, if we're gonna remove 40 spots, we have to be very careful. And we have to make sure that any spots we find are comparable, and that they're spots that are amenable to business and to people shopping and dining downtown. I admire the DPIC. I think they've done tremendous work, and they're working within the parameters that they're working. I do think merchants deserve a spot at the table, and we need to all come together to make sure that that we solve all of our problems simultaneously. As I've been saying, I think we need to make sure all stakeholders are addressed. So I know they're still trying to find the 40 spots. I don't know if those spots are exactly where people want them. So before we move forward with Parker Harding, I would like to make sure we have spots that are comparable. 65 to 70% of the people I talk to do want to explore a double deck, and we've kind of done everything but explore that at this stage. I know we have a multi-step process, but the 2-hour one isn't working in my opinion.
Mr. Christie, 1 minute.
Yeah, I think this is one of another area where we need to think about who we are and what we want Westport to be in downtown in particular. If it is indeed supposed to be a destination, and if Westporters and friends and neighbors in our neighboring towns want convenience, then that should be layered into our decision-making process. And it's clear that the business owners, and as we've been talking about for months, we believe business owners should have a seat at the table in the Downtown Plan Implementation Committee that has been around for 10 years and is still working on implementing. And we've implemented the 3 hours to 2 hours. But business owners need to have a seat at the table and a voice in determining their future in downtown. And we collectively need to be able to provide input into the process and make a decision. And I'm also, I see I'm out of time, but 5 more seconds.
Go ahead.
there is a shortage of parking downtown. We need to seriously explore the attractive parking deck solution and bring the neighbors into the processes as well for the area above the Baldwin lot to add incremental parking downtown to help make up for the loss in the harder parking at Parker Harding.
All right, so now discussion. Just to give a piece of fact, the 2-hour parking is only on streets. It's 10% of the total amount of parking. And the ultimate reason was that when you're saying they're getting tickets, the parking is for the clients, not for the employees. And that's the whole theory behind BFJ and the, so put that in. Now we can discuss it a little bit more with a little bit of fact. So how's our downtown doing, and is parking really a problem, or are we doing great and we can get there in different iterations? Mr. O'Day, I think you had your hand up first.
I did. Sure, parking is definitely a problem. And I would support another tier in the Baldwin lot. But I do think that we have to look at things more holistically. When there are conversations with people who do differentiate the right side and the wrong side of post-work, we're currently sitting then on the wrong side here in the library. It just doesn't make sense to me to look at it that way. So look at it holistically. Matt is exactly right about the 3-hour to 2-hour. The next steps, of course, are getting permit parking for employees so they can park all day. And then probably something that's not going to be loved and embraced by all is metered parking. And then you look at the parking garage. But like anything that is done properly, there are multiple steps that you do. You look at all the facts, you look at the results, and then you move forward. But you got to keep on moving forward, and you have to do it collaboratively. So people often ask, what's the differentiator? Differentiator for me is I am open and willing to consider another parking level in the Baldwin lot.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I just want to add to you.
Ms. Moore, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. On this downtown parking going from the 3 to 2 hours, you're right, it was a small percentage of the spots that went to 2 hours. The reason this was the recommendation from the DPIC to do, and the Board of Selectwomen approved that change, was because in the survey work that the town did, through the consultant, it was, I might not have the number right, but I believe 65% of the people who came downtown came to grab a coffee, to do a return, to do something quick downtown. So there was a reason behind that. It wasn't haphazard. And so when we do these surveys of residents, it's my opinion we should listen to what people are saying. We can make a change. If the change doesn't work, then we can bring that back. But if we're going to spend money on consultants and work like that, let's use the information to make changes. As Don said, there is a plan in place. It seems to make sense to me. Kevin quickly had mentioned that the merchants don't feel represented on the DPIC. We've had some merchants who have been on the DPIC who unfortunately have not been good participants in the meetings. So we've just added a new resident, Massimo, who owns Mossico, to the committee. He's going to be joining, and we have one other merchant who I hope to write a letter recommending in the next week. So we are hearing that. Lastly, the DPIC is an open public meeting, so if you're a downtown merchant, you can attend those meetings. You're not missing out on an opportunity to speak up.
Ms. Wistreich.
Thank you. I agree, Don, with you about the lot on Baldwin. I've been looking at that for years. The topography is low, the way that site sits down, so a deck there would barely even be seen and no one would notice it, and it would alleviate our problems. It also would only cost about $10 million. The whole downtown redevelopment plan is way in excess of that. I think Parker Harding should be cleaned up. I think that we have studied it, and studied it, and studied it. I think it's time to go on this one. So clean it up, make it ADA compliant, repave it, make it pretty, make it on the waterfront, and let's build the parking deck in Baldwin. And kind of stop talking about this already, because it's really been rehashed too many times. Okay, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
I do think the
time's
plan.
up.
Okay, all right.
Anybody else? Mr. Christie?
Yeah, I do think with the business owners and thinking about process, when our town put out an RFP for the engagement study and Collier's responded, they did talk about engaging with the business owners and in the business community, and what came back did not in terms of their actual study or report, did not include engagement with the business owners. So totally agree and appreciate that when we do spend money on studies, we should definitely use the information, and when we contract for studies, we should make sure that the consultant fulfills its obligations.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to say one more thing about the
30
post
seconds.
road.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Okay, post road. I don't think there's a wrong side and right side to the post road. I like to call it the retail side and the cultural side of post road, and I'd like to start to think about Westport framed out like that. And I think that our local merchants who pay very high rents on that side of the post road, they should have parking on that side of the post road. So that's how I view it.
Okay, thank you. All right. We're going to do one more specific question, but we have time to just throw out a couple questions just for discussion, so it's not specific to an individual. But this question goes to Mr. Christie, and Mr. O'Day, you are the rebut for 1 minute. It has to do with planning and how we run our town again. Twice in the last year, we've seen projects hung up by confusion over which board or commission should see the application first. 824s and appropriation requests come from the first selectman's office. How will you ensure things go to in the right order and ensure things get done in a timely manner?
Sure, I think simplistically, taking the maintenance facility at Longshore, for example, in that process, can pick up the phone and call the board chairs of Board of Finance or Planning and Zoning to the extent there's uncertainty around where we should go first, and just engaging in conversation and partnership with our fellow elected officials in town to determine the appropriate path. I think that is a important and critical starting point. That seems like a simple question. Was there another?
No. It's just a matter that in the last 2 years, we've seen this issue. And it's not actually an indictment of the administration. It's just the process is unclear. And I think that's what we needed cleared up. And so that was the question. How do we clear that up to create the process so we don't have someone coming to P&Z and going P&Z saying, well, we don't have the plans.
Yeah.
Well, should the plans have come first? That's how do we get this done?
Yeah, I think opportunities to use a pre-application as it relates to potential changes in municipal land use instead of going straight to an 824 that results in either a binary yes or no. The pre-application process does lend itself to more of a conversation and feedback from our land use body. I think pre-apps are a great opportunity to smooth out the process.
All right, Mr. O'Day, 1 minute.
I think the whole concept of knowing how things work is very, very important. Probably many of you have seen little videos throughout, school and whatever about how a bill becomes law. And then you know the process. You know what the steps are, and you know what the order of the steps are. The right step to get something done in town that involves land use is to start with a pre-application so planning and zoning knows exactly what the first select person is thinking about. And then when the 824 is actually brought forth, it's done knowing that you've already received feedback from planning and zoning. It's a pretty simple process and should be used all the time because it will, if you actually think it's an extra step of having a pre-app, it saves time in the end because you're not arguing as much after an 824 is developed or presented. So if everybody knows the process, not just people doing it, but the people in town, the residents, then any deviation from the process is going to be met with, well, why'd you do it that way? So it keeps people on track, keeps people honest. the greater public awareness for how our government works is just leads to a much better town. A more informed town leads to a better town. And that's what we should do.
Okay, let's go to some discussion.
Yeah.
Mr. Rosenwaks?
Yeah, I'll be brief. I mean, we can't forget that our town hall is teeming with talent, department to department. So we do need clarity as to process, but if there's ever any doubt, the conversation started at town hall. And then, you know, P&Z clearly gets involved with land use very early. But, you know, if there's any doubt, we always work within town hall first, and then we go to our bodies. But planning and zoning should clearly be first before we go forward with the land use 824. In the end, I do potentially envision some of these larger projects, as I said, being more collaborative up front. And I think we need clarity in process whenever we can provide clarity.
Nope. Ms. Wistreich?
I do agree with Kevin and the other people who have discussed the pre-app. It's just so important to get that kind of feedback from the commission before the planning process starts. And, you know, as a planning and zoning commissioner and my other commissioners, we really advocate for pre-apps. Then when the 824 comes, and 824 is a decision of municipal land use and how it should be used. It's a serious decision in a civil matter. And something that's been frustrating is that we've gone through 824 processes, and then we've gone through other 824 processes when a change needed to be made, and that's not really the appropriate way for doing that process. And I think that in town, we have great collaboration amongst our town boards and our colleagues, but sometimes the first selectman doesn't get involved in our collaborative process. And so I think whoever is the next first selectman, I really hope that they'll be involved with the town process at a more granular level.
Okay, thank you. Anybody
I'll
else?
just say I agree on pre-apps are the way to go going forward.
Say that again.
Pre-apps, yes. It seems like it removes a lot of the controversy and the difficulty among the town bodies. So I'm in favor of them.
Okay. Looks like the P&Z is going to have more work next term. Okay, that's fine. from the chair in the back. So that ends all the formal questions. We have a couple of minutes here. I'm just going to throw it right out to discussion. So 4 minutes of discussion. The community garden. Without going into why it needs a new location, let's talk about where it could go, how we can get it done, and as you as the new first selectman, how would you make sure that this occurs? Open debate.
So I know a little bit about this. The community garden should be rebuilt. It's not a secret that a suggestion was made 2 years ago to move to Barron South, and that wasn't accepted. So the Parks and Recreation Director right now is working with members of the steering committee to find another place in town. So when I'm first selectman, the Parks and Recreation Director is going to come to me and say, we found a place, and it is acceptable to not just the gardeners and the steering committee, but also all the other folks in town, whether it's Little League Baseball or whomever. And I will quickly and happily support that. So yes, new garden, someplace in town. Eric Barbieri is working on it. It's going to happen.
Anybody else?
Yeah, finding a new home for the community garden is very important to me. I think in the first month it's one of my priorities. I know it is. We need to look at all the possible locations, whether it's Burr Farms or it's somewhere in the back of Winslow. We need to identify a few different places. Barron South was not acceptable to the garden. It had arsenic in the soil. It was shady half the day. we want to make sure we take care of them. This is an example of our decision-making, doing one thing good, but at the same time, we didn't take care of the other side. We want to, when we make decisions in this town, make sure we accommodate as many interests simultaneously as possible. And in this case, the garden's lost 2 seasons already of growing. So we need to identify whatever any other possibilities are, walk through them with the garden, have open conversations, and find a home for them as quickly as possible.
Thank you. Mr. Christie.
Amy and I are committed to finding a new home for the community gardens as quickly as possible, and making sure that it's the right home for the gardeners and for the town. Certainly respecting the work of Parks and Rec Director Eric Barbieri, and in conjunction with the gardeners as well. I think we would have been in a different spot currently after the Board of Ed requested a new school back in June 2022. Amy and I would have brought all of the users of the nearly 30-acre property to the table at the beginning of the process to understand everyone's wants and needs, not just the school, but the users of the fields, the users of the gardens, and the users of the preserves. And had we done that, and if we came to the conclusion that the gardeners would unfortunately not be able to continue to exist at Long Lots, we would have known what they wanted already, and we would have understood why Barron South would have been a non-starter for the gardeners, and we would have saved a lot of time in terms of finding a new home for the gardeners, or for the gardens.
Good. All right. So talked about traffic, affordable housing. We had those as questions, but this is one that wasn't brought up, and this will be our last question right out to conversation. I think most of us agree that the weather is changing. This October feels more like it was September. Storms, when they come, are bigger and stronger. The Deep Zone website shows that flooding in Saugatuck in 20 years could well envelop the commutation area, the trains, the exits and exits to the highway. How are we planning for possible sea rise, flood mitigation, and dealing with our community? And how would you address this in the next 4 years as first selectman?
Yeah, the flooding risks and concerns and flooding that already exists in our town is real, not just on the coast, but inland as well. The state, through DEEP and Circa, suggests that there will be a nearly 20-inch rise in Connecticut's sea levels by 2050. So the concerns about flooding are real. And there are resources to help us plan from the state when we are proactive and when we ask. And there are other coastal towns that are doing exactly that, like Madison, to help towns develop a plan to help with resiliency, to help with preserving our green infrastructure, which helps to mitigate flooding. So thinking about, the amount of clear cutting that can happen in our town, and the implications of that, and considering putting in a framework to help mitigate the amount of clear cutting in town. But the time. Yeah.
You can finish up.
Yeah,
I'm just.
Yeah, no, thank you. But yes, the flood concerns are real, and we need to take real action to mitigate our flood issues.
Thank you. Mr. Rosenwaks.
Yeah, as part of my work on the Westport Arts Advisory, I helped put the artist blurs up. We have 5 murals behind Anthropology. There's a secret walkway my kids love. And the last one is called Westport 2070 by Rebecca Ross. She's a Staples graduate. And it depicts a Westport in the year 2070 where we are flooded. And we have gondoliers using gondolas. We have people with jetpacks, high lines. And while it's the frivolity of the painting is quite enjoyable, is that our future? There's many things that we can do. Just easy things, plant native plants throughout the town, really explore permeable surfaces. Sea level rise is real. My sister is an environmental coastal manager, and they try all sorts of things. She lives out of Montauk, and what they tried didn't work, and she tried to convince them of that. There's not a good solution. There's things we can do, like reduce our fossil fuels. I mean, it starts here in town. Encourage our kids to compost. There's so many things environmentally we can do to maybe create a better atmosphere. And I could talk for a while about environmental, but we need to hold ourselves accountable and make sure that we can do the little things and then just across the board encourage proactive environmental progress.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. O'Day.
For those of you who have come to debates and heard me speaking and my fellow candidates, you're tired of hearing me say that you can't manage what you can't measure. But it's true. You can't manage what you can't measure. So how do we address environmental concerns? Not just flooding, but a much broader view. You measure differences in environmental issues. You look at the effect of clear cutting. You look at the effect of the carbon footprint of buildings, and you look at the effect of what you're doing, and you measure period to period to period. And if everybody is aware of what's happening, then measures can be taken to address climate change. What we did on the Long Lots Building Committee is that we proactively, although we got a little bit of pushback occasionally about the cost, didn't matter, we were doing it. We added more sustainable features to the Long Lot School. So it's just data and it's action and it's embracing the science. It's telling people this is real and steps have to be taken and we measure our progress.
Okay. Anybody else?
I just want to add, we have been doing, thanks to your District 1 Rep. Chris Tate has been working with the administration, trying to work on beach resiliency, and that's been a big thing of his. And so when we talk about what we can do, there are incremental things being done, but that is one of the issues, not only on Saugatuck Shores, but also at Campo Beach.
All right, thank you. All right. Go ahead.
Just
got one more? There's
briefly add.
30 seconds.
30 seconds? All
Sure.
right. Another area, we're in an amazing town, and it truly runs on our people. It's what makes it special. Volunteerism is incredibly impactful. So thinking back to sustainability, Sustainable Westport, Wakeman Town Farm, and Sustainability Center, and Earth Place, and Harbor Watch. There are so many incredible organizations in town that can help us, taking a step back, even though the question was about flooding, to sustainability. We can, and state resources as well, with Sustainable CT, we can get back to our status as being a leader in sustainability.
All right. So that was the end of the questions, and we're going to go to summation. We're going to start with the second selectman. So that would be Ms. Moore, 1 minute.
Put my glasses back on. Thank you, Matt, and thank you to everyone for coming today. When people ask us what differentiates the candidates, our team talks about experience. We keep saying it because it's true. Don and I have a long track record of results and achievements that set us apart. I've spent 4 years in this role as second select person. I know the job, both mine and the role of the first select person. I understand the responsibilities and the challenges. At the end of the day, the first selectman's job is a management job, not just the photo ops and the ribbon cuttings we do with Matt on a monthly basis. We are at an important time in our town with numerous moving parts and issues that need to be addressed and moved forward. Our team will be ready on day one. We know the people, the issues, what has happened, and what needs to get done. Don specifically has a deep management experience, both professionally and on town projects, making him the solid choice. My experience over the past 10 years serving Westport will help him succeed. We are ready now to lead this complex but wonderful town for the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Wistreich.
When I say it's a privilege to serve this town, I mean it. It really is. I've been coming here my whole life, and to be a public servant here is a pleasure. Westport has the most engaged volunteers and citizens and the smartest. And so it might seem like fireworks from the outside, but it's great public engagement. And I appreciate everyone I work with in Town Hall. I've been in Town Hall for 6 years. I'm the only one on this stage who has planning and zoning expertise. So I bring that to our team. I know how to get around Town Hall. I know how to work with the Planning and Zoning Department in Town Hall. I'm very close to them. I have a great relationship with the Zoning Board of Appeals, with the Planning and Zoning Commission, and all the other boards in town. So I am ready on day one to start building projects that have been sitting on shelves for a long time. I am looking forward to that, and for that reason, I appreciate your vote on November 4th, and just can't reiterate enough what a privilege it is to serve the town I love. Thank you for being here today.
All right, thank you. Mr. Rosenwaks.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out and thank everyone here on the stage and Matt and the Westport Library once again. I'm running as an independent, the first independent party endorsed candidate in Westport's history, as I said before. I want to make this about Westport. I'm not here to make Republicans look bad. I'm not here to make Democrats look bad. I'm here to move Westport forward. It's important that everyone in this town feels heard, everyone in this town feels valued, and it's not always the case. I thank everyone on the stage, everyone who serves the community. We have tremendous volunteers. Amy's correct. But I do think we need to do a better job of listening to everyone, working collaboratively to come up with solutions that accommodate as many interests as possible. I want to drive outcomes. We're going to get some opinions along the way, but I want to drive outcomes. I'm excited about the future of this town, and I really want to tell everybody that no matter who wins, it's going to be a great town going forward. I believe my vision of collaboration and listening to everyone and making sure we come up with solutions that accommodate as many interests as possible is the right solution, and thank you for your consideration.
All right, thank you. Mr. O'Day.
Thanks to Matt and the chamber and my colleagues here on the stage. The town is about to make a hiring decision. You're going to select the team that's going to run this town for the next 4 years. And we have a tagline that says experience matters, because it does. So what is our experience? Well, I'm the only candidate, and Andrea is the only candidate on the stage that have had management roles within the town. I'm the only one that has presented budgets, detailed budgets, transformed budgets, transparent budgets, and had them approved unanimously by town. We have a significant amount of management experience because this job is just about management. It's managing 17 direct reports and hundreds of employees. So when you decide who you're voting for, ask yourself who has the management experience and who has the overall experience to lead this town. And I think that you'll find that the O'Day Moore team is the right choice.
Thank you. And lastly, Mr. Christie.
Westport's full of opportunity, and we can only seize it with leadership that brings people together around a positive vision for the future and plans responsibly and also gets things done the right way. And Amy and I have the experience that our town needs in this moment, with Amy's expertise in planning and zoning and construction and architecture, and my professional experience in finance, investment banking, and strategy. And we share a commitment to open government and engagement and results, and our lengthy public records demonstrate that. We'll advocate for what you and what Westport needs in Westport, in Hartford, and DC, whether that be traffic, infrastructure, development, or ensuring Westport voices are heard in state-owned projects in town. We will engage with the state. Our governor strongly endorses us, as do our U.S. senators, our congressmen, and our Westport delegation in Hartford. Good leadership isn't about doing what's easy. It's about doing what's right and solving problems. And that's what Westport deserves. And thank you for coming today, and Amy and I hope to earn your vote during early voting through November 2nd or on November 4th. Thank you for coming today.
All right, thank you. All right. Well, as you know, early voting has begun, so if all of you want to march over to the town hall and cast your vote after hearing what you said today, what you heard today, then go ahead and do it. So to let you know, the Chamber of Commerce has a couple of events coming up. It wouldn't be good if I didn't pitch them. A Halloween window painting contest is happening this Saturday, so look for all the wonderful kids who are out there painting. On November 8th, right on this stage will be a wonderful celebration of the Grateful Dead. It's a post-election party, so buy your tickets. You'll see the QR codes on signs on the way out. So those are the things that the Chamber is doing, along with hosting this debate. But I want to thank all 5 of you again for stepping up and wanting to do more for our community. Thank you very much. You all did a phenomenal job. Thank you very much for coming.